PNR Networks is a member of Patreon. Show your love for our shows by joining our ongoing fundraising campaign and get some fantastic perks in return. Check it out and become a Patreon sponsor. You can sign up at patreon.com, patreon.com/PNR Networks. And thanks for your support.
This podcast is a member of the Blueberry Network. Blueberry. No E's. That's Blueberry, BLUBRRY.com. Blueberry.com.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
What are you doing?
We're taking a trip through time this week.
Oh, no, we're not.
Yes, we are.
Oh, hell no, we're not. I am putting my foot down. I am not dealing with any time travel stuff. No. You know I hate that.
No. We're not doing time travel stuff. We're traveling back in time to a couple of old subject cinemas and updating the information.
Oh, that's different. Never mind.
Thank you, Miss Latella. We're going back to 2010 and two of our public service shows that are designed to help our listeners and our readers on eCinemaOne find all kinds of new information about their local area theaters and everything going on in the theater industry and how things have changed. Mm-hmm. Plus, we'll have all of our regular features as well. On this special edition, we're calling A Theater Near You Revisited. I'm T.C. Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
Like sands through the time traveling.
This is Subject Cinema. You love doing that entirely too much.
Yeah.
Stand by to receive our transmission.
This town needs an enema.
Celebrating a decade of film podcasting. Lasting out of Beantown, USA, you're tuned into Subject Cinema with T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown.
Directive.
Oh, behave. Yeah.
I volunteer as tribute.
Suppose you run your business and let me run mine. Here's looking at you, kid.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome TC and Kim.
Hey guys, welcome to another week here on Subject Cinema. We hope that you're having a great week out there. I'm Kim Brown.
I'm T.C. Kirkham, and we're sliding backwards through time this week.
Yep.
As we take a look at an old show with all new information.
Yep.
This is Subject Cinema number 565. First day and date, May 7th, 2017. Mm-hmm. It's the first of 3 back-to-back special shows we're going to have during Marvelous May. In TV form, they call it Sweeps Month. We're going to have a couple of great specials coming up the next couple of weeks. And then Memorial Day weekend, we're going to tell you, we have an announcement later on in the show. Gonna blow your mind. We're gonna have all kinds of fun this summer.
Yep.
And we'll talk more about that. How was your week?
Not bad. I mean, not really. It's pretty okay.
That's good.
We're in the beginnings of May, which is always fun. You know, new month, new promises and stuff like that. It would be nice if the month hadn't started with, flooding, but it would, we had a lot of showers for the beginning of May, a lot of rain, but it's kind of sunny out right now.
I thought it was April showers bring May flowers.
Oh, yeah.
Not May flowers bring...
Pilgrims.
Yeah, I know. So give her that opening and she'll do it every time.
Yes, I will.
She did it last week on her show and our show. Anyway, we're going back to our original show that we did back in 2010. We did a show, our Subject Cinema number 224 was called A Theater Near You. And the idea was to bring you up to speed on developments in the theater industry, your local types of cinemas, and ways you could enjoy those cinemas. Mm-hmm. Next week, we're going to do an updated version of another show that went with this show also. They were companions. Because everything has changed in the last 7 years.
Yeah, really.
So much has changed since the show first aired just about 7 years ago. It was little more than. It aired originally on April 17th, 2010, which is when the first date it was up. There are a lot of changes that have happened, and that's why we're calling this one A Theater Near You Revisited.
Yep. It really is crazy when you think about all of the stuff that has changed in such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
You know, when it compares to like other decades and stuff like that, where there was progress, but it was much slower. But nowadays, everything just boom, 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 boom.
It's called Silicon Valley at work. So we're going to have a link to the original show, so you can go back and listen to that, because a lot of it's still relevant as far as the venues and venue types and stuff.
Sure.
Plus, there's some cool stuff in that show, too. But we're going to update it here on different types of stuff that theaters are now doing, because let's face it, the theater industry is a little bit in the doldrums right now. They're having some problems. They're worried about competing technologies like on-demand streaming, DVD and Blu-ray. They're worried about television and how more people are staying home because quality television, original programming is available on things like Netflix and Hulu and everything else.
Yep.
So they're out there trying to get you back into theaters. I read so many times, I'll go in one of the theater boards I'm in, and people will, you know, on a site that's something about the theater closing, or, you know, another theater doing this to help bring people in, and people are like, oh, I stopped going to theater years ago. It's not worth it. It's just such a pain in the butt. I'm sorry. I don't agree with that. Theater experience is the only way to get a full theatrical experience, a movie experience. You can watch movies at home, but unless you actually have a home theater, and some people do, but I would honestly think it would be under 2% of the population because they're really expensive.
Right.
They start at an average of $20,000 to install them. Unless you have a home cinema, you're really, like, not going to get the full experience. And even then, it's not quite the same experience. It's close, but it's not quite. So this is designed to try and get you familiar, for those of you who have not been in the movies lately. If you haven't been in the movies lately, I'm surprised you're listening to this show. Most people who listen to this show are regular moviegoers, so we hope that you will continue to do that. The rot started setting in right around the late 90s, early 2000s, and people started having second thoughts about it. It's when DVDs were taking off and making home video easier. Netflix was out there as a rental company, and so was Blockbuster at the time. And so the first thing they did was introduce more comfortable areas to go to. They would upgrade from regular hallway-style seating to stadium seating.
Yep.
That was the first major improvement, and we talked about that extensively on the last show. Stadium seating brought people back in, but now it's not enough. People want that home experience. So, you know, I go into a movie theater, and nowadays they better give you some huge experience, because I mean, here in our neck of the woods at our local cinema, which is Showcase Cinemas in Revere, Massachusetts, a regular show is now $13.50.
Yeah, that's just
a regular show. It's $19.50 for 3D.
That's just for the show.
Yeah,
that's just for
the tickets.
The ticket.
That's not concessions. That's not dinner. That's not anything else. That's the tickets, and it's actually more expensive. Or no, it might be. Is it 13 or is it $12.50? It might be $12.50.
$12.50, I think.
And AMC's in town are $1 higher. And of course, Boston is having this new theater renovation Renaissance.
Yeah.
We have 5 new theaters probably coming to town in the next 3 years. 3 of them are already being built. One of them will be open later this summer at South End. Is that what they're calling it? South Bay in Dorchester, AMC South Bay. And then Carasotis is coming to Fort Point this fall, and ArcLight to North Station area in early 2018. So we have 2 more spaces that are looking for theater tenants.
Yep.
And one of them is probably going to be iPic. I don't know who the other one will be, but we'll see. All of these cinemas are doing all kinds of things to get you in. Now, the first big revolution and the thing that the studios really forced onto theater owners was the absolute have-to conversion to digital cinema. That happened in 2012. Digital cinema has been around since 2002, but it has not been, it was forced upon everybody by 2012 because most theaters, most movie studios stopped supplying 35mm and 70mm film at the end of 2013. So they had... Go ahead.
The issue is, like you said, they introduced it in 2002, and the thing was most movie theaters at the time were like, that's nice, and we're
the
just
nicer
show,
theaters would get it, yeah.
You know, and lots of theaters would get it, but a lot of theaters wouldn't. Because they were just like, well, that's nice. We're going to show things the way we want to show them. You know, come back with your new toys when they cost less.
Now, some of our local theaters, especially the art houses, were in deep trouble. Cinema Salem in Salem, the Brattle in Cambridge, Coolidge Corner in Brookline, and a number of other smaller theaters in the Boston metro area all ran Kickstarter campaigns and to get the money to afford digital projection. All of them succeeded. Cinema Salem was a record setter. They made their 100-and-some thousand goal in 5 days. Way quicker than both Coolidge and Brattle did, which I was blown away by. That tells you the devotion that the North Shore has to Cinema Salem.
Yep.
And it's a great place to see a movie anyway, because the Salem Film Fest is held there every year. The digital conversion is great if it's done properly. Locally, the thing about 3D nowadays is you have to have a special lens on the camera, and it's a pain in the butt to take it on and off. So most theaters just leave it on. So like half the theaters in Showcase are too dark when they're running regular movies because they didn't bother to take the little 3D knobby thing off.
Right.
Which is a pain in the butt. But, I mean, you still get decent quality. Okay, so after digital cinema, which was forcibly implanted and pushed onto the people in 2012, came the renovation. Well, we need to upgrade our seating.
The problem was with
this is still ongoing all over the country. Not everybody's done it. So
the problem was with the new lenses and all that, all the new stuff. Some theaters just flat out closed.
They did,
and that wound up because the online community had grown more and more and more. That wound up generating a lot of resentment for some of the theater chains because people realized, well, you know, this studio, people took it as, well, this studio forced this cinema to close, and this was my favorite cinema. F them, I'm not going to go see their movies anymore.
Right.
And people started talking online about how X and Y studio is crap because they're pushing out, you know, the little guy and how dare they're so awful, blah, blah, blah. But like you said, now they you know, forced through this change. Now they looked at the theaters themselves. And a lot of theaters came to the harsh realization that they hadn't changed much about the theater seating and stuff like that since LBJ was president.
Well,
you know?
Most of them were built in the 70s and 80s, and they had, you know, just
Reagan.
slight gradient seating in some places, or in some places they didn't. They just had a raised screen like Fresh Pond, which was a nice place, but you didn't have any grade to the floor, so you had to look up and see the film. Which drives me crazy because it didn't work at Hollywood Hits because my neck has been injured ever since we went there.
Yeah.
The way I had to look at the screen. I think that the idea of renovating was great, but not everybody's picked it up. Now, most of the major chains, AMC, National Amusements, Regal, Carmike, a number of the other ones, have eventually done a renovation. They have started to install recliners in most of their theaters. Showcase, our local cinema, completed their recliner changeover about 3 years ago. The first thing we saw in the new recliner seats was the second Thor movie. So 3 years ago, was that? 3 years ago? And they had, their seats are beautiful. They're comfortable, and they're nice and spacious, and you have good arm room. And it is nice to be able to put your feet up and watch a film.
It is.
AMC in town, on the other hand, AMC Boston Common, did this only in the two theaters that are downstairs.
The two
IMAX theaters, the IMAX theater, and the mid-sized theater where we saw Beast of Southern Wild and Killer Joe. The upstairs theaters, as the last time I was there, have not yet started to renovate. That was recently. So they're going to need to do something because Regal has put in recliners in all of their cinemas at Regal Fenway.
Yeah.
And all of the new cinemas coming in are luxury cinemas except the AMC. So we'll get to that in a minute.
Unfortunately, Regal in Boston also added another feature that
hold that. We'll get to that in a minute. It's nice they're coming up with more comfortable seating, and that's really awesome.
Even more important.
I suppose it's too much that we could ask them to put vibrators and massagers in each of the chairs.
Yes.
Oh, okay. We get that. It's called 4D.
Even nicer, in my opinion, is the fact that a lot of theaters have now set aside areas that are for people that have mobility issues.
Yes, a lot of them have better seating now. Like Showcase has a place in the front of the Showcase theaters. Most of them have a stadium style in behind you, and then 3 or 4 rows in front of the main aisle. And in that main aisle is where there's at least 12 slots for handicaps and people with them. And disabilities. I'm sorry, handicapped is not very nice to say anymore. Disabled people. And we find that quite helpful when we're there because I have back problems. Kim has knee problems. It's hard to climb the stairs. We can go up one. Regal, we had to go all the way up to the top because we were almost we were almost sold out for what we went there last time. That was not fun. So these are nice. The reclining seats are nice, and you can find them at most major chains, and some mom and pops are installing them too.
Yes, that's true.
The next innovation to come along was the addition of better 3D and the new 4D technology. Now, 3D technology's been around since the mid-'80s in a big way. I mean, you had the cardboard glasses in the 50s, but this is a polarized lens that they use now. Mm-hmm. It's like you could probably safely go in with a pair of Polaroid sunglasses and watch a 3D movie.
Would it work?
I don't know. They're polarized lenses, so that's what they use for 3D now is polarized lenses. Huh. It's hard to tell. I don't know if it
I
would
wouldn't
actually
recommend
work
it because it might not work.
But the 3D is getting better and better all the time.
Definitely, yeah.
But now there's something new called 4D. 4D Showcase Revere was the first cinema on the East Coast to install the new 4D technology. What this is it's been around for 30 years, but it hasn't really been used for big films. We saw a short film at Madame Tussauds Wax Museum. We were in New York.
Yeah.
9 years ago.
Yep.
In 4D, and it was interesting. What it is, it's a motion odyssey movie ride type.
We saw
thing.
something like that even further back when we were in England back in '94.
Right, when we were at Piccadilly Circus, they had a motion odyssey movie.
Yeah,
they're usually 10 minutes long, and you get in the seat, you strap yourself in. It's like being in an amusement park ride. Mm-hmm. Disney's been doing it for years. Universal Studios has been doing it for years.
Yeah.
But now it's in local theaters, and it's spreading across the country. There's at least 6 of them now on the East Coast, and there's quite a few of them on the West Coast, and I think they're starting to make their way into. The problem with these are, if you are prone to injury, as we are, you usually come out a bit rattled, because the seats move, and they move hard. Up, down, sideways. You get mists on you, you get odors on you. I mean, it's 4D.
Water spray.
Yeah, well, I said mist.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Isn't that what mist is?
Yeah.
Okay. And all these other things, pokes in the back. I don't think they'd actually shock somebody yet.
Hopefully not.
But it's a...
As I've mentioned before, I've used this analogy before because it's true. Was it The Martian or Man from U.N.C.L.E.
I don't know.
Or Deadpool, which are the 3
Well,
movies?
Deadpool wasn't in 3D. The other 2 were.
Yeah. It was The Martian, I think. We came out of The Martian, and the best way to describe how I felt was like a sock coming out of a dryer. That just completely whipped around and knocked around. And
the thing is, it is fun. It is fun when you're experiencing the movie. But unfortunately, the seats were large. The seats fit us snugly. Mm-hmm. And any drinks you have, if they're not at least half full, have no prayer of lasting if that chair goes whoop or whoop, forward or backwards.
Yeah.
Kim had an empty one in her seat. It went flying the first move.
Yep.
And that was with Deadpool.
Yeah.
We are planning. We don't go very often. I am, and I've already told Kim, I'm planning to see Valerian in 4D.
Yeah.
Valerian and the what is it? The City
Valerian
of a Thousand
and
Planets.
The City of a Thousand Planets.
That movie is made for 4D. I can't wait to see what that's going to be like.
So apparently we're going to be taking some Dramamine beforehand.
and a couple of days off afterward. We'll go on as Friday, so it'll be a weekend. But the 4D experience is worth looking into, and it's worth doing at least once.
Yeah.
I mean,
if for nothing else, you can see if we're being too sensitive.
We didn't really do that much during Man from U.N.C.L.E. There was chase scenes and some car stuff.
Yeah.
But The Martian surprised me with how many things were involved in that on the 4D.
I know.
And then Deadpool was just insane in 4D. So it was 3D. It was 2D. It was a 2D film, but they had the Motion Odyssey going. They didn't even use the 3D glasses or anything. So it's kind of crazy. But it is fun, if a bit injurious, if you're prone to injury. And if you are pregnant, do not go on these things.
Well, they actually, there's a...
There is a huge list of things you can't be if you have to be like, it's like you must be this tall and this old and...
It's like riding Space Mountain.
Yeah.
There's a sign outside, you can't be pregnant, you can't be this, you can't be that, da-da-da, and all this stuff like that.
No leg or back injuries, blah, blah, blah. It's an insane experience. And one we're taking, it is more expensive. 4D was, when we last did it, full price $19.50. We actually got to see The Martian at matinee price, which was $12, which was a good deal. But it's a lot of fun if you can endure it. And not that many places have it yet, so it's going to be new to a lot of the country as they expand it, and people are going to be trying it out. The next big trend in this type of thing is the type of venues you're going to, and we will discuss that
when Subject Cinema returns.
Real movies for real people. Subject Cinema.
Hello, everybody. On behalf of Nick, Joe, and Vern, we would like to invite you back for a brand new season of the As You Watch podcast.
In our upcoming season, we will be talking about franchises, trilogies, and series of movies that you will recognize and some that you may not.
We will also continue to post fun and insightful interviews with many people in the world of entertainment, as well as feature a lot of great guests from other sites and podcasts.
So be sure to check us out on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Podomatic, and on Facebook.
And don't forget to check out our older episodes on our site, asyouwatch.wordpress.com.
If you're looking for great films, well, that's okay. You'll like us anyway. Subject Cinema.
Welcome back to Subject Cinema. I'm T.C. Kirkham.
Hi, I'm Kim Brown.
Subject Cinema number 565, May 7th, 2017, if you're listening for the first time on the day and date. We're hearkening back to 2010 in a show we did called A Theater Near You, and we're revisiting that with some of the more new technologies that have come up in recent years. And one that isn't a technology in the movie industry the way it's projected is something that is growing without a doubt all over the country, and that is the luxury theater. The luxury theaters are usually high-end, extremely expensive theaters.
Yep.
But are worth the money. At least it was the one time we went.
That's true.
The first luxury theater in the Boston area opened in 2013 or 14 in Chestnut Hill. It's Showcase Superlux, and it opened replacing the Chestnut Hill Theater. And we went out there, like, it was open for about a month before we went out there to see Man of Steel. It was the first film we went out there to see. So whatever year that came out, it opened about a month before. Okay, so 2013. And you walk into this building, the ticket kiosks are downstairs, you go up the escalator into this lobby that looks like a hotel. It does not look like a movie theater lobby at all.
No.
It looks like a hotel, a very fancy hotel. To your right as you go in is Davio's, which is in a really high-end Italian restaurant. And then you go in and the concierge points you to which hallway you need to go down to get to your luxury theater. Now, Showcase was one of the innovators in luxury theaters with their Lux system, which actually started in the mid-1990s. This is well beyond that. The whole building is devoted to the Lux thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you come in, you sit down, I accidentally got us front row seats for Man of Steel. I thought it was front row section. It was right below the screen, which didn't turn out to be too bad because they had nice recliners and we were able to.
It's not like it wasn't a catastrophe at all.
No, it wasn't.
We sat front.
We can sit front row at Showcase now and not have a problem because of the recliners. We sat there for Mockingjay. You remember when I caught pneumonia from being in the air conditioning in January?
Mm-hmm.
That was fun. Actually, late December, I think it was. It was not fun. Anyway, we were kind of shocked to be there. You have to walk a ways from the T station. It's up the road a couple blocks and then all the way to the other end of the shopping center.
Yeah, which at the time was being, there was construction work going on.
And you had just hurt your knee. Or was that right before you hurt
No, that was before
you
hurt
your knee.
Yeah.
And so, that was a week before you hurt your knee, wasn't it? I think.
No, I don't think it was that. No, I'm not sure.
I don't remember. You hurt your knee the day Winter Soldier came out. The day after Winter Soldier.
The day after Winter Soldier came out. Yeah.
So, it was 2014, so that was a year later. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Not like you guys care, but we're just trying to get a time frame here. We walk into this, and you walk down these hallways, and it's dark. I mean, it's dark. And they have 3 or 4 ushers at every door. And as we were going in, here's your free Man of Steel hat. And they had the hats for you when you go in. So I had a Man of Steel hat for a couple of years because I used mine. And then when mine wore out, Kim gave me hers, and I used that one for a year. Not that I was a particularly big fan of Superman, but it was a hat and it was free.
Yeah.
The theaters themselves were beautiful.
Because I don't wear hats.
The theater itself was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, as part of this kind of thing, you get in theater service dining. Now, we chose the basic and not the super deluxe. Super deluxe meant you could get waiter service anytime during the film, and those are in the 2 back rows of the theater.
Yeah, so that
we
doesn't
move
bother
forward.
patrons.
You get it up to 20 minutes before, and then 10 minutes into the film through the trailers and stuff.
Yep.
And they'll bring you your dinner, and they give you a menu, and you get like $20 credit because of your ticket for what the prices are. So it actually turns out to be about average for a meal.
Yeah.
But it was. They had delicious burgers, and we had a really good meal and a great time that night.
Yep.
And so the luxury theaters are getting crazy. More and more theaters are opening this way. In Boston, the 2 theaters that I mentioned earlier, the ArcLight, what's that going to be called? ArcLight Fort Point? No. What is that called up there, that new area? Causeway at the Hub ArcLight Cinema will open in January, and it's going to be more upscale, but not quite as luxury, because ArcLight goes for the indie crowd. And Boston doesn't really have an indie cinema. That's in Cambridge at Kendall Square right now. So that's going to help quite a bit. The Karasotis Theater, Showplace Icon they're called, is out at Fort Point, and it is going to be it's an 8-screen theater, so it's 2 bigger than Showcase Superlux only has 6 screens.
Yeah.
Showplace Icon will have 8 screens and full service menu from a major restaurant, a major Italian restaurant, and a burger joint. So you will have 2 different restaurant styles to choose from. The movies themselves will probably be $28 to $35 a person.
Yep.
Because, and only, I think they said only 100 people can fit in each cinema. But this is in a very high end of town. Fort Point is where the artsy crowd is now hanging out. That's where the Institute of Contemporary Art is. It's where the new World Trade Center and Convention Center is. It's where the Bank of America Concert Pavilion is. I think it's actually, I forget, is it Bank of America that's doing it now?
It was.
It's a concert
I'm not sure
tent.
if there's still, if it's been
It's
renamed
changed
since
almost every year lately.
Yeah, it seems like every year somebody else bought it and somebody else has renamed
And
it.
a ton of hotels and restaurants have opened up out there. And it's really a ritzy area of town.
It's completely renovated from the way it used to be.
Now there's a new place coming in called Tremont Crossing, which they're working on, that'll be off of Ruggles Street. They also want to put in a luxury theater in that complex. I'm still betting it's going to be iPic. iPic has been looking up here. iPic pioneered the luxury theaters, and they have been looking up in the Boston market for at least 6 or 7 years because they were looking at Borders before it closed to move in there at Downtown Crossing. And They ultimately changed their mind. They also looked at a property near South Station and decided not to take that too. So iPic will eventually be here. I'm convinced of that. I don't know. There's another one, another new building property thing going on that also wants to bring in a theater. And there's the renovation stuff going on out in Cambridge. I had a discussion this week with Ned Henkel, the Brattle Theater, about what was happening with the old Harvard Square Cinema, which closed in 2012. And Cambridge City Council has been pressuring the owner of the building to make a decision because it's been sitting there empty for 5 years.
Yeah.
And now Ned says he's heard that it's going to be probably sports medicine, and they're going to take a bunch of and turn it into like a clinic area, which is sad. He had actually looked into expanding the Brattle over there, and they wanted an enormous sum of money. So it's like, holy cow.
I wish they had been able to go in there.
Yeah, me too. Because, it would have been, as part of the Brattle Theater, it would have been like the Brattle Extension or whatever. But that would have been awesome. Would have been able for them to do a whole bunch of new stuff. But, wouldn't that tell me 41 million? Something like that? I told you, it was incredible.
Yeah.
That's insane. So anyway, the luxury theaters are spreading across the country. And you get these incredible deals. It's expensive. But more and more millennials interested in going and who have upscale jobs and upscale income have been opting for these because they're kind of all-inclusive. You have everything right there. You can meet your friends there. You can eat dinner there, either in the theater or in the attached restaurants.
Yeah.
And go wherever you want. And most of the theaters have liquor also.
Yeah.
So it's like, wow, I'm looking forward to trying out the ArcLight. I'm not so sure we can even get to Carasotis because it's not on a bus line. It's on the Silver Line, and that's kind of hard to negotiate sometimes. So it's, but when it opens, we'll try to get out there. We still haven't got to the Assembly. We still haven't gotten to Assembly AMC yet.
No.
And it's been open for 2 years, so it's like we got to get out there.
No. We did get to the Regal Cinema, which we mentioned earlier on, which has changed.
Right.
And
Regal's one of the half ones that kind of adapted, like Showcase in some of the locations, where they now have food service at some shows. And the one we went to see didn't have the food service, but the tables get in the way. Regal's tables are really awkward.
Yeah, they have, instead, for some reason they decided to do this thing where they have these tables attached to the chairs that are almost like the desks you had in high school with the small...
But they don't come down.
No.
The ones that Showcase Superlux are the same way, except they fold down.
Yeah.
And these didn't, and they were a major pain in the butt.
They're a major pain, and they did not make it easy for someone with mobility issues like
us.
Especially me, because I have to walk with a cane, and it wasn't very easy to get out of the seat. I also don't think that the decision to have carpet was a really good idea, because popcorn plus carpet makes the floors very slippery. And
there's carpet in Showcase, but not on most of the rows, only in that midsection and down front.
Yeah.
So it's they don't have it up above, but it's interesting. And more theaters have started to open restaurants inside the theaters that aren't necessarily connected to the theaters. Our own Showcase has the wonderful Chatters Lounge. Mm-hmm. Chatters has amazingly good food at decent prices, and they are always filled with people at the bar.
Yeah.
And they really do spectacular work. I still wonder why the AMC Boston Common has never renovated. They had one open for the first 3 or 4 weeks they were there, and then they just turned it into storage. It didn't work because it was on a mezzanine level between the theaters, and they were only supposed to have members in there, and it was too hard to, do, so they gave it up. And yet something like that now, they need to renovate that and reopen it because it would be going nuts.
Yeah, I would think
so. Because ArcLight's going to have it, Carasotis is going to have it. AMC South Bay is having one. They have a chain of them in the AMCs now, and Assembly Row has one now called MacGuffin's. Mm-hmm. And so that, like Chatters at the Showcase ones, that MacGuffin serves. It's a Fridays style place, really a Fridays or Bennigan's when they were around, that kind of family bar and grill type place. And they serve great food and they have good prices, so it's fun. The next innovation in cinema is probably going to be holographic cinema, which is still in the infant stages. They've started to work on it, and I don't think there's been any practical applications except in concert performances. They've done one with Tupac, they've done one with Michael Jackson, and it's going to be interesting because a holographic performance should be coming up right about now anyway, according to Back to the Future, which had the holographic signs, which came down in Jaws 35, came down in, or I think it was Jaws 35.
Jaws 30-something.
Yeah, came down and tried to bite Marty McFly's head off. And that kind of technology is now in its infant stages and probably will become a major force in theatrical presentations of all types, not just movies, but live theatrical performances as well in the next decade. And that's freaking freaky. When you think about the fact that we've gotten just from film to digital to where we are now in less than 20 years. That's fast, considering how 80 or so years it took for the movie industry to develop just 3D.
Right.
Serious 3D.
That's true.
So, next week on Subject Cinema, we're going to go back and talk about local area cinemas and what you can do in your local area. All the new things that you can do at your local cinema, all the old things you can do with updated stuff, new ticketing ways, new vision ways, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And that'll be coming up in our second revision show, Movies in Your Backyard, Revisited, next week on Subject Cinema.
We hope you'll stick around for that, too.
And we got all our usual features coming up
when Subject Cinema returns.
No film is too good or too bad for us. This is Subject Cinema.
All right, Kristen, I am so excited that you've decided to do a podcast with me, but what are we going to do a podcast about? There's so many other movie podcasts. We got to do something original.
Well, I'm a big fan of Disney movies. What about something like that?
That's just kid stuff. What do we want to do that for?
Did you know that The Avengers is a Disney movie? Or that Pulp Fiction is a Disney movie?
Pulp Fiction is not a Disney movie.
It's technically owned by Miramax, which is part of Disney.
We are still going to talk about the Disney animated movies, though, right?
I thought you said that was kid stuff.
Well, I've got 2 kids. I got to be a good dad and stuff.
So be sure to subscribe to the Walt Sent Me podcast, where we discuss the various subsidiaries of the Walt Disney Studios, including the animated movies.
It's available on iTunes, Podomatic, and wherever you find great podcasts. And I swear, it's not kid stuff.
All movies, all the time. Subject Cinema.
Tonight's movie contains sights and sounds so impressive, you'll wonder why we didn't charge you admission. Candy and popcorn are available from our snack bar. As a courtesy to all in attendance today, please refrain from smoking or talking during our feature presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The movie is about to begin.
The main screen.
The fate of the universe lies on your shoulders. Now, whatever you do, don't push this button. Because that will set off the bomb immediately, and we'll all be dead. Now, repeat back what I just said.
I am Groot.
No! No, that's the button that will kill everyone. Try again.
I am Groot.
Mm-hmm.
I am Groot.
Uh-huh.
I am Groot.
No!
Showtime, a-holes.
I am Groot. 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 And I am Groot. I am Groot.
Jesus, Mary, and St. Joseph. Grant me strength. Anyway, for those of you who figured out what that was about, that was TC's attempt to be funny. Yay! Good for you! I'm sorry. That was actually quite good.
I am Groot.
Oi! You leave my mother out of this! Thus begins our look at the blockbuster that just came out this past Friday, James Gunn's continuation into the Marvel Cinematic Universe on a galactic scale with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Give us the rundown, Kim. I'd be glad to.
I am Groot. I am Groot.
I'm going to throw something at your head in a minute. And your head is not made of wood, despite of what a lot of people think. And so it's going to hurt you, so knock it off.
Well, I could spend the entire opening bitching about how much I really loathed the first film.
You could. Actually, I figured that's what you were going to do.
Who says I didn't? Hmm?
That's fair, actually. That's fair. And again, Jesus...
Give us the rundown.
And again, Jesus, Mary, and St. Joseph...
stop it.
Give me strength. The beginning of the film actually takes place quite a long time ago, and not in a galaxy far, far away. It takes place right here. In 1980, we see a young, beautiful woman who is in love with a young, handsome man. Yay for CGI. The young woman is an Earth woman named Meredith Quill, who has fallen in love with a spaceman. And this isn't the usual movie adaptation of an alien, green skinned or spitting acid or whatever. He's a good-looking guy that he says has, met this beautiful Earth woman and has fallen in love with her and has planted some sort of object on Earth that looks like a flower. We now fast forward to 2014, and we see the Guardians of the Galaxy, which is made up of Peter Quill, a.k.a. Star-Lord. He's very
2014?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. In 2014, Peter Quill, a.k.a. Star-Lord, he's very particular about that. Gamora, Drax the Destroyer, Rocket, and Baby Groot, also known as the Guardians of the Galaxy, who have been hired by a high priestess of a race called the Sovereign. The reason they've been hired is because the Sovereign are having a problem with some kind of an interdimensional octopus kind of looking ugly mofo monster that's trying to steal some batteries that run their planet. They have been promised that if they destroy the monster, they will be rewarded, and their reward will be the capture and turning over of Gamora's adopted, estranged, and bat guano insane sister Nebula, who the Sovereign had captured. If the Guardians do the work that the Sovereigns want, they'll give them Nebula. So there is the big climactic, battle at the beginning of the film over the credits, which was actually quite great. And things promptly go sideways from there, thanks to the fact that Rocket can't keep his greedy little paws off the nice shiny batteries, and the fact that the Sovereigns are basically a bunch of gold-plated a-holes.
Uh-huh.
Wackiness ensues when Rocket steals some of the batteries, and the Sovereign, as I mentioned, the gold-plated a-holes, go off in pursuit, and the Guardian ship winds up crashing on a planet where they're met by this figure, a man who calls himself Ego, who has with him a young woman named Mantis. Ego says he has been looking for them. Specifically, he has been looking for Peter because he is Peter's father.
Dun, dun, dun.
Did we really need that there?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Peter's a little suspicious of this at first because who wouldn't be? But he winds up going back to Ego's home planet and finds out that Ego is a god, small g, a being of intense power that is capable of creating matter with his mind and has created this planet that they're actually standing on. And he tells Peter that because he is Peter's father, Peter has these same powers. He just needs to tap into them. and, everything will be wonderful and terrific. And anybody who believes that, I have a bridge in Brooklyn that I'll let you have for real cheap. Now, while all of this is going on, Rocket and Groot and the still captured Nebula have been left back on the other planet trying to repair the ship. Unfortunately, they are not alone on the planet because Peter's former adopted father / kidnapper,
mentor,
mentor, adopted father, kidnapper, Yondu Udanta has been hired along with the rest of his band of Ravagers. They have been hired by the Sovereign to bring back or kill, whichever comes first, the Guardians of the Galaxy. It turns out that Yondu and his group of Ravagers have actually been exiled from the other Ravagers because they found out about the fact that Yondu had kidnapped Peter all those years ago when he was a child. Because the Ravagers might be thieves and scoundrels, but hey, we're not child kidnappers. So Yondu and his group are on the outs. Mm-hmm. And thus begins a story full of excitement and humor and great special effects and redemption and family. Mm-hmm. Why don't you give us the cast list? Because I can't talk anymore. Sorry, my throat's really dry. I'm still sick.
With Chris Pratt as Peter Quill, a.k.a. Star-Lord, Zoe Saldana as Gamora, Dave Bautista as Drax the Destroyer, Vin Diesel as Baby Groot, Bradley Cooper as the voice... Well, Vin Diesel is the voice of Baby Groot. Bradley Cooper is the voice of Rocket Raccoon. Michael Rooker as Yondu. Karen Gillan as Nebula. Pom Klementieff, I hope I have that name right, as Mantis. Elizabeth Debicki as Aisha, the leader of the Sovereign. Chris Sullivan as Taserface, one of the more ridiculous Ravagers. Sean Gunn as Kraglin, Yondu's second in command. And a cameo by Sylvester Stallone as Stakar Orgard, as well as Kurt Russell as Ego. And a number of cameos from other people, including from the first movie, Laura Haddock as Meredith Quill, Greg Henry as her father, Seth Green as the voice of Howard the Duck. Yes, he's back for 3 seconds. And canine actor Fred as Cosmo, plus later on in the film cameos by Michael Rosenberg, Vin Rames, and Michelle Yeoh, plus voice cameos by Miley Cyrus.
Yes.
What did you think?
Oh my frog, this movie was so much fun. Directed by James Gunn, written by James Gunn, I thought this was terrific. Once again, make mine Marvel. It was a really great film, lots of fun, exciting. The end of it was really moving and incredibly beautiful. I thought that the storyline was compelling, held my attention for the entire run of the film. And I want to bring up something about this film that really struck my heart and really resonated with me. As y'all know who've listened to this show and listened to my solo show, Platinum Roses Garden, PlatinumRosesGarden.com, I am a fan of a show called Supernatural. And there's a line from Supernatural that has been brought up and quoted, and lots of fans have even had it tattooed on their bodies, that it instantly flew into my mind while we were watching this film. And the line is, "Family don't end with blood." And I can't think of anything that sums up this film more succinctly than that line. This film is about the fact that family... On one hand, family can be the people you're genetically tied to, but more importantly, family are the people who love you. Family are the people who will always be there to take you in, to take you back, to take you home, no matter how badly you've effed up. And family loves you. And just because someone has a genetic tie to you does not make you a family. And the fact that someone is the person that donated part of their DNA to make you donated half of their DNA to make you, that might make them technically your father. It does not make them your dad.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking as someone with a boatload of daddy issues, that really struck and resonated with me. And I really feel like Chris Pratt brought that to the forefront and to the surface and did such an amazing job with it. You have made it very, very obvious since we saw the first film, you do not like the character of Peter Quill.
I can't stand the character of Peter Quill.
Yay, honesty! Anyway, I, for the most part, I didn't have the problem with Peter that you did. I was like, okay, he can be kind of a twit, but you can tell...
Kind of a twit? That's being kind.
Well, you can be kind of a twit, and I love you, you know.
Not that bad.
No, not that bad. I can be kind of a
Don't insult me like that.
I can be kind of a psychotic, but you love me. So anyway, but my point is that you can tell, and I could tell in the first film, underneath all of that brash, cocky, I always know what I'm doing, I always have a plan kind of stuff, you can tell there's a person under there. There's a person that has dealt with a lot of loss and a lot of baggage and a lot of hurt, and they've had to bottle that up and bundle it up and shellac it over with this whole attitude of I'm okay when it's very clear you're not okay. And in this film we see through that. And I really, really think that Chris Pratt brought a lot more development to the character than he was allowed to in the first film. And I thought that I especially love... They had great chemistry in the first film, but the chemistry between Peter and Gamora in this film is completely off the chart. I love the chemistry between Chris and Zoe Saldana, who I can watch do anything because she's just amazing and awesome and kick-ass and beautiful and strong and smart and everything I wish I could be. I loved it. I loved everybody in this film. Nobody felt out of place. Nobody felt weird. And it was kind of a battle between Dave Bautista and Sean Gunn as who stole the movie worse. Because every time they had a scene, they was like, I couldn't tell who stole it worse. I mean, they both were really good at stealing scenes. I thought it was great. A lot of fun. Really enjoyed it. What about you?
Well, it was better than the first one.
That's it. Good night, folks.
I don't know what you mean about Sean Gunn stealing scenes. He really didn't have that many.
Yeah, but what he had, he really worked really well with it and was really terrific.
Well, yeah, I suppose. Number one, I love Kurt Russell. I think he's awesome in everything. And he comes across great here as Ego, who is the savior of the Guardians after the Sovereign stuff going on, or at least three of them. He is always a fun character to watch because he can play good guys, he can play bad guys, he can do good, evil, in between. He's good at all of it. He made his name in Disney films when he was a teenager and then graduated to Cops and Snake Plissken and a number of other things.
Then went back to Disney for Sky High.
And, well, more than that, Miracle and a few other things, too. He's always great. Michael Rooker is another one that I've always loved. He's a great character actor. Known now, thankfully, really getting attention because he's a member of the Walking Dead alumni.
Was.
Well, as I said,
alumni.
And
it
of course,
didn't end too well for Merle, but...
He's playing Yondu here again in the second film. The basic team is still the same team, and they're really good. They have great chemistry together. Karen Gillan... you would never know this is the same woman that was on Doctor Who under all this makeup. But the real revelation of this film is Mantis. Mantis played by Pom Klementieff. I don't know if I can pronounce that right. I'm not that familiar with the character of Mantis, but I really, really like what they've done with her in this film. There's a lot to go from here.
She's actually quite different than she is in the comics.
Yeah, I looked it up afterward, and I like what they've done here. I like the connection they've given her to Drax, Dave Bautista, who is the best part of this film, and just always has been. He was the best part of number 1, too. I love Dave as a wrestler, but as an actor, he's really done a terrific job and kind of become the stable character actor to Dwayne Johnson's leading man action guy, and that's really done well. I actually did start to like, just to crack into the skin of Peter Quill here. We see a lot more of him, and as you said, this brings out a little bit more into the character, and that expansion of the character makes him a lot more tolerable than he was in the first film. The relationship with Gamora is also good. Rocket's still annoying as hell, and I like him. He's funny as hell, but he's annoying as hell too.
Yeah.
And when you have a character that all they can say is "I am Groot," it gets really kind of tedious after a while. But it's saved by the on-screen CGI antics that he's coming up with.
And he's just so damn cute.
But that having been said, the movie is about a half hour too long. It runs 2 hours and 25 minutes. It could have easily done it in under 2 hours. And there are 8, 10, 12 moments I was just going, are you freaking kidding me?
Because it was too long or because of the plot?
Because of the plot twists were, I mean, like, they're not, they are. Oh, man.
But you have to admit that one plot twist, it was like, oh, no, we're not, oh, crap, we went there. You know.
I don't know which one you're talking about, but we can discuss that afterward.
Okay.
There were some good plot twists. There were some bad plot twists. I saw what the big plot was coming at least a half hour before it happened. And this one, it was more enjoyable. I had more fun, and I actually wouldn't mind seeing this a second time because there's a lot of little things going on.
Yeah.
Watch for Stan Lee's cameo because truly, it connects to every other film in the MCU, and we didn't realize it until now. There's all kinds of stuff going on. It is a better movie than the first film. It's still a long way from perfect. It's too long. There's some set pieces in here and some tropes that I would just like really. But it's enjoyable fluff. I wish we hadn't paid so much money for it. We saw it in 3D and X Plus, but that's me, and you clearly loved it again.
I did.
What's your score?
I give Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 a very enthusiastic A-.
Yeah, it's good. I give it a B-, which is higher than what I gave the other one, which I think I gave a D. I don't remember. It might have been a C.
I think you gave it a C.
This is a little bit better. They're on the right track. It's overloaded with end stuff. There's 5 end credit scenes. Then they really didn't need that many. They're funny, but they didn't need that many. And there's a bunch of other stuff going on in the trailer, in the credits too.
Yeah.
And all in all, if you're a Guardians fan, if you're a Marvel Cinematic Universe fan, you're going to love the film, or at least like it enough to see it. And like I said, I begrudgingly started to like a little bit more of this character. And I can't actually say I don't like the actor, because I enjoyed Jurassic World fine with Chris Pratt. There was nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, neither of us are Parks and Recreations fans, so we didn't see him on that.
But I can actually recommend this one marginally. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is showing everywhere.
Welcome to the soundtrack of your life. You're listening to Subject Cinema with TC Kirkham and Kim Brown.
Want to know what new films are coming out this weekend? Hi, I'm TC Kirkham of Subject Cinema, inviting you to check out 3 Minute Weekend, our weekly roundup of all the new films hitting U.S. theaters each weekend. We've got the 411 on all the new blockbusters, indies, and video on-demand choices for you each week. 3 Minute Weekend, every Friday morning from Subject Cinema and eCinemaOne.com, a PNRNetworks podcast powered by Libsyn. Subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcast service.
We've got the films you're looking for. Subject Cinema with TC and Kim.
It's time for this week's Deep 13 report.
Yep.
Going to the dark side of the moon. Actually, Moon 13. And the new season of Mystery Science Theater 3000 now airing everywhere on Netflix. Episode 1103, The Time Travelers.
Yep.
Do 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 do.
No, that's an actually good show.
Oh, that is a good show, yes.
Now, I have mentioned previous times, including this show, I hate time travel stuff. I just can't stand it. It gives me a headache. It hurts.
Yesterday's Enterprise.
Ow!
Cause and effect.
Ow! That one really hurts. Also known as the Next Gen episode that we lovingly refer to as the Headache episode. Anyway, the Time Travelers from 1964
is nowhere near as good as that in quality.
Oh, hell no.
Oh, boy.
The plot of this film is that scientists...
Such as it is.
No, there actually is an interesting plot.
I suppose.
It's just handled incredibly poorly. The film is about a bunch of scientists, Dr. Steiner, Dr. Connors, and Carol White, who they actually don't refer to as a doctor, so I don't know if she's
probably she's probably an assistant or a lab tech. As opposed to a doctor.
They're testing their newest invention, which is a device that allows you to view the future. Thankfully, not the movie. But the thing is, this device naturally draws off a tremendous amount of power. And a technician from a power plant, and his name is Danny, has been sent to tell them to turn the experiment off because they're probably dimming lights all over town and people need life support in hospitals and stuff like that.
Not a power plant, the power plant connected to the lab.
Yeah.
He's clearly known by everybody there.
Okay. Sorry.
Kind of like your doofy sidekick type. He's the Gilligan of this movie.
Pretty much, yeah. While they're still running the test, there's a moment where these shadows kind of flicker on the screen, and for a second I thought the film broke. And they
can only hope.
Yeah, that would have been nice. I'm sure the poor guys at Mystery Science Theater 3000 were thinking the same thing. The screen shows what looks like, downtown Arizona or something like that. This very barren landscape. No offense to people in Arizona. I'm sure you have a lovely state.
Anyway.
But damn, it's hot.
Stay on point, woman.
All right.
You're letting Kinga get to you. Stay on point, woman.
Danny discovers that the screen is actually not just a screen. You can actually step through it. And he winds up walking into the actual picture because he's an idiot. And, how else do these kind of movies get started? One dumbass has to go through and everybody has to chase after them.
Watch your mouth, family show.
Sorry. The scientists chase after Danny, why I don't know, to get him back, but the problem is that once they are all in the other side of the screen, the Deus Ex Machina kicks in and the screen goes beep and it's gone.
Dun dun dun!
He's been really winding up to do that one. And it turns out that our intrepid heroes are actually stuck in the future.
The future.
And it turns out that the future is actually 2071, to be exact. They find out that humans now live underground because there was a great war, and what's left of humanity cannot stay on Earth, and are planning to leave and go to a planet that is orbiting Alpha Centauri. Never mind that there might already be people there, But, hey, humans always show up where they're not wanted.
I get the feeling they've checked that and there wasn't.
Well, hopefully not. But it turns out that they're not alone on planet Earth. What lives on the surface still are the mutated survivors of, the degenerate survivors of the war and stuff like that, who are just referred to as mutants, who all seem to be bald men, who have terrible teeth and want to destroy the humans. And we get this film's look at the future and the people involved in it, and we get Jonah and the bots riffing on it, because it deserves it, because this film is crap!
The cast list from the movie, Dr. Eric von Steiner, played by Preston Foster, Philip Carey as Dr. Steve Connors, Mary Anders as Carol White, John Hoyt as Dr. Varno, Dennis Patrick as Councilman Willard, Joan Woodbury as Gadrid, Dolores Wells as Rena, Steve Franken as Danny McKee, the electrician and the power plant guy, Barry Kroger as Preston, Gloria Leslie as a councilwoman, Molly Glessing as the android, Peter Strudrick as the mutant, J. Edward McKinley as Raymond, and Margaret Seldine as Miss Hollister. These were the people, and the very limited budget set, which really made Space 1999 look like it was made on a $50 million budget. It's terrible. The set was terrible.
The movie
was terrible.
The acting was terrible.
Which is strange because you got good people here. Steve Franken, for all the annoying characters that he plays, and the fact that he was related to Al Franken, which is scary in itself, and he's not with us unfortunately anymore, always plays these roles well. We'll see him again next week in Avalanche.
Yeah.
And there's, he's great in these goofy, nebbishy roles, and he's, hey, girls.
Yeah.
He does that really well. He did that well for most of his career after Dobie Gillis. So let's be honest.
Philip Carey is probably better known to fans of soap operas as Asa Buchanan, one of the longest-running characters.
I knew he was on one of the soaps. I didn't know which one. Yeah.
On ABC's One Life to Live. That's where I knew him from.
And John Hoyt, best known for Grandpa on Give Me a Break, also appeared in Star Trek's original pilot, The Menagerie, as Dr. Boyce.
Yes.
Confidant to Captain Christopher Pike.
And once again, everything in life revolves back to Star Trek.
And we should find out if Steve Franken ever did an episode of Star Trek or Next Gen.
No, but he did do 6 episodes of Bewitched as different characters.
Yeah, I remember him being on there all the
time.
And
that one guy that you pointed him out to me too, that I was like, oh, I know that guy, but I don't know why I know him. The guy
Dennis
from the
Patrick.
future. Yeah.
Dennis Patrick played Vaughn Leland for a number of years off and on Dallas, one of JR's nemesises. Only he had white hair. You'd never recognize him here because he has dark hair and he's younger here. But he was on Dallas off and on for 10 years. So it's like, you know.
Probably one of the only people on that show that was as scummy and ruthless as JR.
Yeah, he wasn't.
But I was like, oh my gosh, I know that dude. Why do I know him? And then you said it and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't believe it. That's him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this movie is just right.
What happened on the satellite this time around?
Okay, well, we got the usual, craziness and shenanigans with Jonah and the bots, including the prologue, which has Jonah and the bots playing that time-honored slumber party game, Never Have I Ever, which Jonah doesn't wind up doing very well at. I think the best segment out of all the segments that they did was the segment where Jonah keeps bringing out new robots. All these new robots that can do all kinds of specific things, all kinds of specific tasks. And every robot that he brings out, Tom and Crow rip it to pieces. And I don't mean verbally. I mean literally. It's like that scene in Cinderella where the stepsisters rip apart her dress. It turns out
that might be where the idea came from. You never know.
It turns out that Jonah actually had no intention of these other robots being used. It was just his way of keeping Tom and Crow, giving them some exercise. And then Tom and Crow break out the bats, and it doesn't work out really well for Jonah. Great stuff, as always, from the folks over at Mystery Science Theater 3000.
And then even actually, this show's actually making Patton Oswalt fairly likable here as TV's son of TV's Frank, a.k.a. Max.
Yeah.
I don't like the guy. I've never been that enamored with any of his roles before. I think... I gotta say,
fine in Ratatouille, but that's only because you didn't.
Right.
I'm
saying I like Seth Rogen when I don't have to look at him. There's certain things starting to gel in this episode. We're into episode 3. It's taking me a while, but I'm starting to finally. I can't tell when they're in the theater who. I can't tell the difference between Crow and Tom. The voice-wise, because they sound alike.
Okay,
you can see that they look alike, and of course, Tom now has the ability to hover. And then there's this whole thing they do every movie with Gypsy coming down from Gypsy's now on the ceiling, comes down from the ceiling with something in her mouth. It's a big box thing.
Yeah,
and she takes it back at the end of the movie, and I can't figure out what the hell that's
supposed to be. Maybe it's supposed to be
the
film.
Well, the film's already started usually when she drops it in.
Oh.
I can't figure out what that's supposed to be. If anybody knows, please write me, subjectcinema@PNRNetworks.com, with your idea, because I'm curious as to what that's supposed to be.
Yeah.
They haven't really explained it. I mean, they're not having concessions brought in by her.
No.
And she makes a couple remarks here and there.
Oh, they should, considering the fact that they have to suffer through this crap.
Yeah, this was just not a very good film. At all.
And the end
they make it worth it, though. The nice thing about it is they've picked up right where they left off.
They make it totally worth it, but the end of this film, holy crap. For those of you who thought Inception, the ending was like, what the hell just happened?
This had a Monster a Go-Go ending. Really. Seriously.
Totally.
It's completely...
Take that what the hell feeling and multiply it by 10 and add an FU movie. And you've got the end of this film.
It has been noted that it helped inspire a number of series over the years, including the Time Tunnel with from Irwin Allen and a few other places, which was infinitely a better show than this movie will ever be.
Although that didn't last very long either.
It was on for 3 seasons, 2 or 3 seasons.
Oh.
But this is just bleh.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but I couldn't have sat through it if it hadn't been Missy.
Nope.
Next week on the Moon 13 report, we're going to go back to 1978 and one of my favorite bad disaster films, and we got to rip it apart again as Jonah and the Bots take on Mia Farrow and Rock Liberace Hudson in... What? Avalanche.
Wow.
The guy goes around acting like I said, like, you can see every time he moves into the room, I keep wanting, the way he's posing, the way he's looking, I keep expecting him to go, I wish my brother George was here.
Oh, man.
Avalanche next week on the Moon 13 report.
Don't miss it.
Subject Cinema.
It's time for the inaugural OFFS Award.
Yep, it sure is.
The OFFS Award, this is an award we have designed, which is slightly different and are 4 things that don't fit into the Dramatic Chipmunk category.
Yeah. Dramatic Chipmunk is more about people making mountains out of molehills and stuff like that.
Which is why he called it the Dramatic Chipmunk.
Yes.
Dun, dun, dun!
Yep. The OFFS Award stands for O for...
I thought we weren't going to tell them.
Oh.
Well, we can't.
Well,
O for beep sake.
Yeah. These are things that have popped up in the media that we have just had to look at and just made one of us say, oh, for beep sake. This is one that I found, and...
This is ridiculous. It really is.
Now, one thing that is...
I thought we didn't have a sense of humor here in Mass about offensive license plates. This is from Canada, from Manitoba.
Yep. Now, for those of you who don't know, and a lot of people might not, when it comes to license plates, if you have what is referred to as a vanity plate, which is a plate that says a word
or a number or
a number or something that's important to you.
Right.
If you pay a little extra money, you can get a plate that says,
I always wanted, if we ever had a car, to get us a vanity plate that said TCN Kim.
Yeah.
TCN.
Or you can get a plate, get a plate that says Binky or Bozo or,
But most states have laws against offensive stuff and
Yeah.
stuff that might be offensive to other people.
Right.
They're very careful. They don't I know California or one of the other states made somebody get rid of a vanity plate where it was like something 7734. Everybody knows, anybody who had a calculator knows that 7734 upside down spells hell. So people were getting pissed off. So
other people have been forced to turn in plates because they deliberately got a vanity plate that had the number 69 on it, or 666, or something like that.
I wouldn't want that. You get that normally. I've seen people turn down plates with that number in
Right.
it. And license numbers.
But we've seen that, and we've been like, good grief, that's so stupid. People need to lighten up, and there's people in this country that get offended by anything.
Right. And it's not just this country.
But we found out that it's not just this country, that there's some thin-skinned a-holes in other countries as well.
Canadian resident Nick Troller of Manitoba had to give up his license plate this week because people had reported it offensive. The license plate reads, this is the letters, ASIMIL 8. Assimilate.
Yeah.
Referring to the Borg from Star Trek, his license plate frame has "We are the Borg and resistance is futile" written on it.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, it was meant to be a Star Trek reference.
Yes.
A next-gen reference in particular.
Mr. Troller got a call from someone from the Manitoba Public Insurance Office who told him that 2 people, that's 2 people out of the entire province of Manitoba.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I'm Canadian and I don't know this stuff. I'm sorry.
Well, you've lived here since you were 5 months old.
Yeah.
For Pete's sake.
2 people complained about this plate, that his plate was offensive to people who are minorities. He also received a letter telling him that he had to immediately surrender the license plate.
Mr. Troller says, "We become way too sensitive. You can't say anything anymore to anybody." Ryan Moran of the Canadian National Center for Truth and Reconciliation said this, quote, "For basically the entirety of this country's history, meaning Canada, Indigenous peoples have been forcibly assimilated through really extremely destructive means and ways. Words like that, meant or not, have an actual impact on many people," close quote.
Seriously?
Really?
You know,
I suppose it might offend a few people, but for the majority of people who understand that it's a Star Trek reference,
which you could have got from the whole "we are the Borg and resistance is futile" frame around the effing license plate.
We're not trying to play lightly the people that were offended by this, other than to say you've got way too thin skin.
Yeah. And to Mr. Troller, I make a suggestion, sir. Just a suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
Figure out how to say F you in Klingon and have that put on a license plate.
They won't put Klingon on a license plate because it uses Cyrillic symbols or something.
Oh, damn.
You know? So for that, we tell the Manitoba Driving Authority, we give them this award, in which we tell them, "Oh, for fork's sake!
The best movies! Subject Cinema!
Want to know what top titles from film and TV are hitting home video this week? Hi, I'm TC Kirkham of Subject Cinema, inviting you to check out Tuesday Digidex, our weekly roundup of all the new home video releases in the U.S. each week. Whether it's DVD, Blu-ray, or streaming you're looking for, we've got it covered. Tuesday Digidex, every Tuesday morning, from Subject Cinema at eCinemaOne.com, a PNRNetworks podcast powered by Libsyn. Subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcast service.
Your every man's film school. This is Subject Cinema.
Okay, last week we teased that we had some big stuff going on.
Yes.
And we do. We have 2 more great specials coming up later this month. We have next week's a companion to this week's A Theater in Your Year, which is called Movies in Your Own Backyard Revisited. We'll look at that. And then 2 weeks is our double feature weekend. We'll have two full shows, Saturday and Sunday, spotlighting the 2017 Boston Springs Festival movie season. Nine festivals, 2 movie series, and a partridge in a pear tree, and everything else. And all of that will be the weekend of May 20th and 21st. Then you're going to not see your typical Subject Cinema until fall. Now, we're not going off the air.
No.
We are
going outside.
We're going to take a summer and do something completely new. And I'll be honest, this has been in the works off and on for about 3 months. We've been talking to people, doing other things, and seeing what we could come up with. We got something else going on, possibly with Front Row later in the summer, too. But this is going to be starting Memorial Day weekend as Subject Cinema morphs into Subject Cinema's Drive-In Summer. We will be devoting our entire summer to drive-in fare, drive-ins themselves, everything and anything drive-in. Subject Cinema will have it. We are teaming up with 2 partners in this special summer of shows, Going Attractions, the definitive story of the American drive-in from director April Wright, and driveins.com, your one-stop source for everything and anything drive-in. They are coming aboard as our co-presenters on this spectacular summer. 15 shows devoted to nothing but drive-in fare. Mm-hmm. Now, we'll have our regular reviews, and a few of our regular features will be a part of this drive-in summer, but mostly we're going to be doing all of your typical drive-in fare. You'll get your hot rod movies, you'll get your biker movies, you'll get your teen comedies, your beach movies, your exploitation films, barring porn. We're not going that far. Yeah. We'll be talking about the drive-ins themselves, and every week we will be doing a drive-in salute to drive-ins all over the country. We'll have 3 of them a week, and they'll also appear on eCinemaOne throughout the following week. And it's going to be a lot of fun as we team up with drive-ins all over the country to spotlight the fact that drive-ins are still a lot of fun, still out there, still in business, and still going strong. There aren't as many of them as there have been. At our heyday, there were over 4,000 in America. They're down to 320-some. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you something. It's going to be worth it. And Massachusetts has one of the biggest in the country, the Minden Twin. Yep. Which is it's nationally known thanks to the Andelman brothers owning it and turning it into a destination. In central Mass, it's like an hour from anywhere in Massachusetts. So it's like you can go there and have a drive-in night. And there are places like that all over the country. And that's what we're going to be doing. We have an all-new website that will be premiering for the summer. We have all new features. We have all kinds of cool stuff. We will hopefully have you to be a part of it. We're asking you to call in, or not to call in, but to go over to our special speak pipe for this show and leave us your memories of the drive-in. Mm-hmm. You might get on the show. We have a brand new swag shop opening with all new drive-in stuff and a lot more. We'll talk more about it in the next 3 weeks, but Subject Cinema's drive-in summer will begin with Subject Cinema number 568 or 69. 569 on Memorial Day weekend 2017, and we hope that you will be there with us out in your convertible with the top up and enjoying all of the drive-in fare all summer long. From drive-ins.com, Going Attractions, and your friends at eCinemaOne, it's Subject Cinema's drive-in summer all summer long.
Don't miss it.
Real movies for real people. Subject Cinema.
Hollywood Oblivious. I didn't really intend to have another drive-in thing this week because we this kind of dropped into my lap.
Right.
I was doing research on drive-ins.com and I come across this story and I'm like, wow. Okay, this shows where Hollywood is completely losing their marbles. Mm-hmm. A number of drive-in theaters around the country, most of them centered in the Midwest, have boycotted Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And they are doing so because Disney is making unfair demands on the drive-ins. They're not making the same demands of the indoor theaters running this film. The drive-in theaters, Disney is apparently demanding that those who wanted to carry the film on opening weekend, this weekend, had to carry Guardians and a second Disney film and had to commit to showing both movies for 4 weeks. That, in some cases, in parts of the country, is like 1/3 of the drive-in season.
Right.
So you can't really do that. Most of them, they were trying to get most theaters to take, of all things, Born in China with Guardians of the Galaxy. Mm-hmm. These movies don't even come close to fitting together.
No, not
Born
at all.
in China is going to be a great film. I'm sure we still want to see it. We haven't gotten to it yet. But Disney Nature has done some amazing stuff this decade. And
it is. It looks like it's going to be a fantastic film, and it's definitely...
But with Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yeah.
At least hook it up with another older Marvel film, rather than...
How about the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie? That's a wacky idea.
They did that on Thursday for some indoor theaters. AMC did it, Showcase did it. They showed both of them. But I mean, this is ridiculous. Drive-ins have enough trouble trying to stay in business, as we've said, and that's part of our focus for drive-in summer.
Yep.
And everything, they need all the help they can get. And for a studio to come up with this ridiculous restriction is, I mean, bully to these studios for going out and finding other distributors to show other movies this weekend. Mm-hmm. It may not be as big for them as Guardians could have been, But there are other films out there that need exposure, and these drive-ins are going to give them their exposure because they can't get a hold of Guardians. That could be good for a couple of smaller films that have been out for a week or two. Or something like Three Generations, which also hit this weekend.
I mean, this is not the first time Disney has flung its weight around.
It's not. Disney and Warner Brothers are experts at this stuff.
Yeah, definitely. From stories of Disney going after tiny daycares for drawing Mickey Mouse on their walls.
Well, that's everybody anymore. Trademark infringement and copyright infringement things. They really need to clear that up in Congress, but we'll get into that in the Kirkham report.
To Viaborg and all of its machinations over the years.
Yeah.
This kind of crap it hurts more than it hurts
everybody.
Helps.
Yeah, it does. It's bad publicity. It's what tech dirt Mike Masnick calls the Streisand effect. Disney doesn't want people to know this, I'm sure, but the more people talk about it, the more people are going to be asking Disney, why are you doing this to the drive-ins? Mm-hmm. Which is why we're here telling you about it. So you can write to Disney and say, why are you doing this to the drive-ins?
Yeah.
Because you need to do that. You've got to be an active film fan. If there are things we talk to you about and we say, get the word out, you got to get the word out. And that's another thing we're going to be doing this summer. If we say it's time to let the company know you think what they're doing is crap, you don't need a drive-in in your area, but this is still an injustice happening to people who normally would go to the drive-in.
Yeah.
So please take the time to write to Disney and say, why are you doing this to the drive-ins?
We live in a time where everybody is up in arms about everything. Everybody can march about this and march about that and bitch and moan about all of this serious stuff. And we're not saying this isn't serious stuff, but it's also about bringing people fun and joy and good times and people being able to go to the movies and just have a blast. That's what we want. We want people to just go to the movies, forget their troubles, enjoy themselves, and have fun.
Yep. Just some of the theaters that they're talking about. Garden Theater in Hunlock Creek, New York, I think it is. Scranton is the paper it came out of. Along with several others across the country are ones that have decided not to carry it because of Disney's restrictions. Mm-hmm. I'll have links to the news articles you can go look at on this subject. And, it just irritates me that Disney would do this. I mean, especially since they're finally getting back in the good graces of fans, thanks to their excellent treatment of the Lucasfilm Star Wars films. Everybody was freaking out that the Disney would ruin them, and that isn't the case so far.
Not so far.
And this is and they've done well with the Marvel universe.
Yep.
Stop squeezing every little drop out of people.
Yep.
Out of the exhibitors, too, because that's who's being hurt here.
I mean,
the exhibitors make 90% of their profit from the concession stand. But if you can't cover what you make in the concession stand, isn't going to cover what you're making from bringing this big film in, because nobody wants to see the second film and everybody leaves, what good does it do?
Yep.
All
we say to Disney is WWWD.
What would Walt do?
Amen.
Not that's for sure.
You're listening to Subject Cinema.
Save our screens.
It's been a while since we had one of these, and we're doing it now because it's the perfect timing. Because here we are getting to drive-in season. We're doing this brand new drive-in summer series of shows this summer. And the Winter Drive-In in Wintersville, Ohio is in need of your help. It's actually, Wintersville is a suburb of Steubenville from what I can tell. I'm not familiar with the city, even though I lived out there for most of my life. They are in the midst of renovating and they need to digitize. Now, from what I understand, and I'm trying to get in touch with them so we can talk to them about it, they are not in desperate need to the point where they're about to close. Mm-hmm. They are trying to do this piece by piece this summer. But they definitely need some help, and they've started a GoFundMe. This will help transition all of their screens. They have 3 screens plus an indoor area to view things at. That they will be transitioning to the digital system, which they've got to do. It costs $75,000 per screen. And I'm sorry, there's 4 screens, and they don't expect to have the money come anywhere close to what they need for all 4 screens. They do need to raise enough money to make sure they can get one of them open for the current season. Right. Now, they are open right now. They are running some films this summer right now on just one screen, I believe. And they definitely want to check out. You want to check out what's needed. I'll have a link to their GoFundMe page on our web notes. Definitely go over and check it out. You can, and if you can't donate, please share it on Twitter and Facebook that they need help. Mm-hmm. That's what Save Our Screens is all about. We have to team up with both indoor theaters and drive-ins to make sure they get the support that they need from those of us who love to actually see a film at a film venue as opposed to watching it on a 4-inch screen on your phone.
Yep.
Please help out with the Winter Drive-In in Wintersville, Ohio. And if you can't donate, even if you can't donate, please hit your button and send it to Facebook, send it to your Twitter followers. Let people know it's out there. It's all about getting the word out. We definitely appreciate your help as we once again rally to save our screens.
Real movies for real people. Subject Cinema.
Before we get on out of here, let's plug our stuff.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to Subject Cinema, I'm sorry we didn't get it back in last week. Something came up and I was unable to record. But Front Row 5 and 10 will be back this Thursday. I swear I will get that list done, as well as not having stuff actually doing. We'll be doing our 10 what the F moments.
Mm-hmm.
I still can't find a whole 10 of them, which were supposed to be done 3 weeks ago, and then we did the Mystery Science Theater's 3000 show in place of it because I wasn't ready yet. But that'll be coming up on Thursday. Platinum Rose's Garden, you're a day late this week, and then you've only got a couple more shows to go before the end of the season.
We're almost to the end of season 12 of Supernatural this year. I will be doing later on this evening. My next episode will be up. Twigs and Twine and Tasha Baines is the name of the episode, so I hope you will come check that out.
Cool. Cavebabble with Eric and Valerie Lyon is on a short hiatus, getting things going there, and they should be back shortly with all new stuff like always.
Mm-hmm.
And they will be at Cavebabble.
Yeah, and we would like to send a shout out to Eric and family who have been dealing
with some terrific flooding down at
they've had some weather issues and stuff like that. To y'all, I just hope you stay strong and get dry.
Yep, and of course we have our mini shows, 3-Minute Weekend on Fridays and Tuesday Digidex on Tuesdays, doing the new releases each week, theatrical films on Friday and home video on Tuesday, and those run about 5 minutes, 7 minutes long with all the latest stuff. We hope you'll check those out. And coming soon to PNRNetworks, the debut of our newest show, The Comic Grotto with Aunt Bee and Pee-wee, debuting later this month on PNRNetworks all over the world, because I guess that's us. It's our first ever comic-centric show. Aunt Bee and Pee-wee, late of Mashed Up Madness, will be in the center stage, and they will be talking all about all types of comics, and are going to have all kinds of fun with it.
Yep.
The Comic Grotto with Aunt Bee and Pee-wee coming soon to PNRNetworks, and we will be very glad to have them here. I'm thinking there's a couple other things we should mention. Don't forget, our Patreon campaign is ongoing. You'd never know it, but it is ongoing. $2 a month is not that much, guys. We have listeners out there. I know you're out there. I can see the stats. Please donate to us. We really need to move on and get some great stuff going. And we hope that you will take that $2 a month pledge. You can go higher, but $2 a month is something. And every little bit helps. Patreon.com/PNRNetworks. Mm-hmm. Also, I'm on Twitter at eCinemaOne and eCinemaBoston. Kim is at Platinum Roselle. Mm-hmm. And you can catch us on Facebook at Popcorn and Roses, although I'm having trouble updating the site because we use a service. And since Facebook screwed everything up by forcing real name stuff, the service that we use, I can't get into it, and they're having trouble figuring out why. So I haven't been able to change anything on the Popcorn and Roses site for like 4 months. But I do regularly post over there at my TC site, so you can check that out too.
Mm-hmm.
Kim's there occasionally.
I am. Very occasionally.
And we also have Instagram out there when we get around to it, and a few other things. And you can link to everything right on the website. You can see everything going over. Please visit eCinemaOne. eCinemaOne has all kinds of cool stuff. We have a brand new newsletter starting you can subscribe to, and a lot more. That's at eCinemaOne.com, and it has a lot more stuff than just Subject Cinema. We're all about the movies and you. That's why we call ourselves Real Movies for Real People.
Yep.
And on that note, for Subject Cinema, I'm T.C. Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
May your popcorn always be buttered.
And may your roses always be in bloom.
We're heading into the summer, folks. Stay tuned.
Bye now.
You have been listening to Subject Cinema with hosts T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown. Subject Cinema is produced by PNRNetworks, Boston, Massachusetts, which is solely responsible for its content. Subject Cinema theme performed by Eric Lyon. Subject Cinema is recorded and produced using Sony Vegas products. Subject Cinema is copyright 2017 by PNRNetworks under a Creative Commons license. Check out a new episode of Subject Cinema every weekend. Until next time, this is Bob Taylor for Subject Cinema, and we'll see you at the movies.
That's all.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.
PNR